Hey everyone. Ancient boons are by far the biggest amount of power you get from a selection screen in the entire game, and it just so happens that you get one as soon as you start every run. So it's very important that you're not misplaying here and really understanding all of your options. So here's a guide to hopefully understanding all three of the ancient selection screens you're going to get throughout a run. Hope you enjoy it. I'll see you in the next one. A really important concept to understand in Spire is that every decision you make early into the run snowballs into decisions that can be made later. For example, if you pick a good Neow bonus that saves you like 20 HP, you can now get an upgrade instead of being forced to rest. And that upgrade can, over the course of the run, save like 20 HP as well. And that can snowball into being able to buy certain relics because you don't have to spend money on potions to survive, etc. There's a lot of like scenarios you can concoct, but essentially the early choices you make in runs are going to matter a lot. So I cannot overstress the importance of Neow selection and actually looking at your map and figuring out what to do. I will make an entire video dedicated to pathing and what to do with these Neows. It's impossible to discuss these without briefly mentioning at least some things, but I'll go a lot more in depth in a different video that's not just about ancient bonuses. That being said, let's go ahead and just start with Neow. So these are all Act 1 choices. There are a lot less options than there were in Spire 1. First up, Ancient Scroll, or Arcane Scroll, sorry. Upon pickup, obtain a random rare card to add to your deck. This is incredibly character dependent. I think on something like Clad, where a lot of the rares can straight up be curses or just super duds, I don't really want this very often. On something like Necrobinder, where all the rares are very good, for the most part, you can kind of make do with anything. I think it's important to realize that your base deck is very bad. Base cards are just not good cards. Getting any random boost that can sometimes save you a ton of HP or make Act 1 easier is really good. It just very much depends on the character. The other time you want to click random rare is if the act value is very low. So say it's super safe, maybe your max elite or only viable path is like 1 fire potentially, and like 1 elite, so you just can't really get much out of the act. Random rare is a way to get late game power or long-term value out of a map that otherwise doesn't offer that. So this probably just goes right bang into B tier here, because of the fact that it's so character dependent, and it probably fluctuates between like A and D. So it's probably bottom of B or maybe top of C. So you do need to sort of evaluate the whole rare card pool. You can click on the compendium in the game and kind of just look at your options and see what would be helpful. You're essentially just making a risk assessment of like, if 80% of cards are positive or roughly positive, then maybe you can click this and accept the 20% of the time you're going to brick. You're really playing for expected value with this. It's not always going to be good. Sometimes it can super high roll. But if you're trying to win every run, you do just sort of need to make that evaluation. Okay, Booming Conch. At the start of Elite Combats, draw 2 additional cards. I think this is definitely on the below average side of things. For the most part, I want a bonus that's going to help me inside of hallways, since those are pretty scary in this game. And for the most part, this is just doing nothing and a lot of difficult fights as well. Like, a lot of hallways are just as hard as elites, and it's also doing nothing in bosses. I think in this game, more than Spire 1, you're not really just running in and farming max elites. I'm more okay oftentimes with like a 1 elite Act 1, while because I only take 1 elite, I can now greedily upgrade cards or draft more greedily and not take some early game damage options. I can instead pick like engine cards or block cards that scale really well that need upgrades. And you wouldn't be able to do that if you're just running into farm. So it's sort of a committal bonus that makes you pick the idea of running into farm before you really know if you can or not, before you see the cards. So if you have an early shop, that is probably one of the things that's going to let you maybe take this. But I think for the most part, it's pretty bad. I'm not going to put it in D tier, but just solidly in C for me. Okay, Cursed Pearl. Upon pickup, receive Greed, which is a curse that is unplayable and eternal, I believe. So you cannot remove it from your deck. You gain 333 gold. This is a huge influx of gold and means when you go to the first shop, you often have 450 at least, if not around 500 gold, depending on what happens in the question marks or lead up to that. Depends on how far away the shop is. I would really only pick this when you have an early shop, and some characters really care more about keeping their deck small and not having this curse. What you can really think of this as is that you're going to remove a card in the first shop probably with this money. You cannot obviously remove the curse, but you're going to remove a strike most of the time. So you're essentially trading a strike into greed and subtract the 75 gold out of the bonus from this, and really treat this as like roughly 250 gold, with like making your removes more expensive and having one more card in your deck. So when you do that, maybe you can buy a really broken relic. A lot of commons are just expensive in this game, as I just talked about in the relic tier list, but they are very good. So if this lets you buy like a potion, a relic, a remove, and a card or something into the first shop, it can really set you up to snowball the run. I do think I'm going to dock it a little bit just because on certain characters, like say for example Regent, I really do not want this thing since it's so valuable to have a small deck on that character. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this into A tier, I think, with just the notable exception that you really don't want to click this without an early shop available. Okay. Let's go for Golden Pearl. Upon pickup, gain 150 gold. Sort of just a similar thing compared to this. Obviously, it comes with no curse, but not as much money. So you're not going to be able to walk into the shop and buy as much stuff. But I think it's still very, very solid. I will say this is pretty comparable to Curse for Rare. In the first game, the numbers are a bit different and the curse is different. But for the most part, it's doing a similar thing. Having more money is just more flexible in the first shop. You really don't mind the curse that much if you can walk in with a ton of gold and just kind of buy whatever you want. So Golden Pearl, I'm going to go ahead and throw it into A. I think it's just a very easy to take thing, pretty flexible overall, not really unhappy. Again, if you don't have an early shop, you can't really take it. I guess in a map where it's very low value and kind of safe, as we previously discussed, maybe a lot of fires, no elite sort of path, you can take this and like hold it for a late shop and maybe use it to kill the boss. So there are ways, if all your options are just really bad, that this can, you know, be clicked, but it's not great to do that, I should say. Okay, large capsule. Upon pickup, obtain 2 random relics, add an additional strike and defend to your deck. This can add relics of any rarity. However, I think having an extra strike and defend in your deck is very bad. If this breaks, it really can just kill you. And it's not unlikely to do that. Most of the time, relics in this game are good, but even just getting like one okay relic and a bad relic outside of that, to have your deck be a lot worse, without the possibility of like P-Box in this game to get rid of all your basics, makes this quite rough. So I think I'm just going to throw this in D tier. I played with it a lot on day 1 just to try it, since it's one of the most different options that exist, but I really can't see actually liking this or really wanting to take the extra basics for relic trade-off. I don't know what kind of deck I can construct that's going to fix up the fact that I have 2 extra basics in it. Just not great. Every time I've taken it, I've really regretted it. I don't think you should really ever click. It's basically a never click option, unless you have some incredibly scary early game and cannot click the other ones and just need some early power. I think it's early power at the cost of it very, very much subtracting from your late game deck, basically. Okay, Lava Rock. The Act 1 boss drops 2 relics. This does literally nothing the entire act until you get to the end and beat the boss. If you have watched any of my other videos, you probably know that the hardest part of the game is Act 1. If a good player is going to die, that's probably the most common place they're going to die. And basically taking a button that says skip your Neow bonus is not good. You really do not want to just be skipping the thing that can help you the most to get through Act 1. Again, I mentioned about snowballing, but this can really set you on a downward spiral just by not having anything and kind of make your Act 1 worse and make you die to the boss. So I think this is just going into like bottom of C tier. I don't think it's never click because this can actively be negative a lot of the time. And this is not negative, but not positive at all. And most of these things are going to be positive. Okay, Lead Paperweight. Upon pickup, choose one of 2 colorless cards to add to your deck. In this game, colorless cards, I think, have been kind of redesigned from being something that's like kind of weird and fringe and niche to stuff that's just generically sort of good. And I do know that colorless cards are probably going to get reworked, so this may change in a week or so. But for now, I think this is a very solid option. Only being able to choose from 2 does hurt, but it's pretty unlikely that you're going to brick and get absolutely nothing. And even if you do, it's probably a card that is going to be good in the long term and you can sort of build a deck around. But this can just be like really good damage cards that exhaust, really good damage cards that don't exhaust, energy gen, draw for free, things that solve the boss on its own or the elite. It can be insane cards. So I'm probably going to throw this into like middle of A here. If it was 3 cards, I would probably put this in S. I do think that it being only 2 just increases the chance that you don't get something immediately valuable, and it's harder to click on maps that look scary in the early half of it, which is really where you want to be putting most of your attention into in this game for the most part. Okay, Levy Poultice. Upon pickup, transform one of your strikes and one of your defense, lose 10 max. The 10 max is basically nothing. You start with less than 10 max missing, basically. So like you're missing more than 10 max or 10 HP in the beginning of a run regardless. So this is not costing you any current HP. Similar to Spire 1. I think this is just the best bonus by a lot. I think whenever this is on the screen, I don't even really need to look at the map or look at what is going on. With the rest of the options, I probably just click it. Maybe there's some maps, for the most part though, not really, but some maps can exist that are incredibly scary. You do not risk the low roll of bricking this, and you need to take some sort of like consistent option. But yeah, just really not gonna happen very often. For the most part, you can sort of just click this on almost every map, and you're not gonna be wrong most of the time. Transforms are just basically 2 removes and 2 cards that aren't base cards. That's sort of how you should think about them. Really, really strong on every class. Okay, Lost Coffer. Upon pickup, gain 1 card reward and procure 1 random potion. This is probably the best like early option you can have in the game. If you are scared about dying on the map, this is always going to be positive no matter what. You have choice on the card reward. It cannot force something bad into your deck. And you also get a potion, which is obviously going to be good and can help you and prevent you from bricking into an elite. So if you have something like a map with no early shop and a bunch of like hallways and a forced elite before a fire or something, and you just can't have the risk at all of like a transform into a brick, or you can't click any of the gold options, this is just going to be really, really good. Card rewards, again, snowball. The fact that you get a card reward before you even walk into the first hallway probably saves HP in that hallway. It saves HP in the second hallway. It saves HP in the third, and can let you draft a lot more differently just because you have available HP and kind of this snowball rolling already. So a lot of people slept on choose a card in Spire 1, but I think that was honestly a really solid bonus. It didn't even come with the potion. So you just get a potion stapled onto this that's just going to also save you when you brick. So you can think of this as really just getting ahead and maybe being able to build a better deck because of the card reward and the snowball that it's going to give you, and the potion just preventing this like ultra bad low roll situation. I think this is like easily in S. It's probably the bottom of S, but it's just like super consistent, can always click it, always going to get you through the early game, and that again is the scariest part of the run by a lot. So I love this option. I think I click it very frequently. I think in Spire 1 there was an option that was 3 pots, but when you only have 2 potion slots, you're tossing one of them away, and that feels a lot worse. Only getting 1 potion means that if you don't need the pot in the first hallway and you get a potion there, you're not even overlaying pots and wasting your potion drops. So you can sort of like willy-nilly throw potions after you get like 2 in the belt to save like 7, 8, 9 HP. Maybe something that decision would be thought about a bit more in a run where you don't have an extra potion. But because of it, and because like you just care about saving the HP in the early game, feel free to throw that potion, and you're still likely to get another one since this is not counting against your potion chance. Okay, Neow's Torment. Upon pickup, add 1 Neow's Fury to your deck. This is a card that says deal 10 damage, exhaust, and pull back 2 random cards from your discard pile into your hand. I played with this a lot on the game's launch, again because this was not in Spire 1 and we didn't have anything like it. For the most part, I have entirely stopped clicking it. I think overall, the card is very similar to what a lot of common cards are going to do. And oftentimes there's a lot of characters like Necrobinder or Regens that I don't even really want this effect at all. The fact that I can't pick the card makes it a lot worse in endgame. It's just going to give me random stuff. It's a brick on turn 1 in the endgame. Like, the number is just not high enough on it to really warrant it. It's just sort of a damage common. And there's like a million ways to add a subpar damage common into your deck that is not your Neow bonus. I'm going to throw this in C. It is not nothing, so it's not literally skip, but it's not something I'm happy about at all. We'll throw this into the middle of C for now. Okay, New Leaf. Upon pickup, transform 1 card. This comes with no downside compared to Transform 2, and you get to pick the card. So on something like Silent, you could choose to Transform Defend. I think for the most part, I'm transforming Strike on every character right now. I don't really know why I would want to transform defend for the most part. I think in the beginning of the game, defends are just going to be better in the hallways to save you HP, especially in the easy pools. So if you are transforming, probably just transform a strike. And for the most part, again, one remove, one random card. That's pretty solid. It can give you a lot of direction in your deck. And Spire 2, the way it's currently designed, a lot of cards are sort of combo cards that clicking the first card of part of a 2 or 3 card combo is just really hard. Transforms just put the card into your deck and make it so much easier to get into other types of runs and archetypes and make some cool stuff happen while also just having it be strong. So I think this is a very solid option. I don't think it's like an insane option or anything. It's not definitely one of these two, but I think I'm just going to throw this into A tier. I like this quite well. Putting Fury and Rock in the same tier feels so wrong. Yeah, maybe you're right. I can throw this in bottom of B. I think these are just like clearly kind of just like do nothing or negative. This does something, but it's just not awesome. Okay. Nutritious Oyster. Upon pickup, raise your max HP by 11. In Spire 1, you had a Neow bonus that essentially gave you like 6-7 max. So this is a little bit better than that. And I do think it's not nothing. If you are scared of dying in the early game, this is a guaranteed way to hopefully get through it. I cannot put this super low. I think I would take this over Neow's Fury, to be honest. Just as a damage sponge. Like, you can think about this as just my rests get a little bit stronger, because rests, if you didn't know, heal for missing HP. So when you have more total HP, your rests are stronger. So here's probably just B tier above Neow's Fury, I think. Not something I'm wanting to really click very often. Like, I'll often take all of these other things above it. If it's up against random rare, depending on the character, I will probably think a bit. But yeah, just not great. Okay. Pomander. Upon pickup, upgrade a card. Depends heavily on character. Regent, you're probably getting 4 more damage from your starter card. Falling Star or whatever. Silence probably upgrading Neutralize, which is very good. Cloud upgrading Bash is like, can do something. You can actually just upgrade a Defend if you're walking into a bunch of hallways. But for the most part, I think this is sort of just super mid. It will maybe save a couple HP here and there, especially with like Defend upgrade or maybe getting out of a fight for a damage upgrade. Silence probably the best for this, but for the most part, again, you want to click all the other stuff. I'm not like upset at this. Obviously, it's just positive, but it's not amazing. Necrobinder can upgrade like the summon card, and they just don't feel super great. Like on Watcher and Spire 1, your eruption went from 2 energy to 1, which was sick. This was like one of the best options on Watcher. We just don't really have that in this game. There's no character that really loves it. So probably just throwing this in B. It probably saves a similar amount of max HP compared to this, but depends on the character. Silent is probably like a little bit bumped up, probably still within B tier, but for the most part, just not great. Again, can upgrade a Defend randomly and help you save chip in hallways. That's about it. Okay. Precarious Shears. Upon pickup, remove 2 cards from your deck and take 13 damage. Once again, on a very difficult looking map, this is very unclickable. So you really have to evaluate your Neow with your map always. If you are forced into an early elite or something, this is going to hurt. This is really early game risk for late game reward. So again, if your map is looking like something that's super high value, like a bunch of elites and it's very risky, you probably don't want to take this. If the map is low value, lots of fires, shops, whatever, you can build a really broken deck by removing 2 cards. So yeah, 13 is a lot of damage to accept. It's pretty hard to click on certain maps and a lot better on certain characters that care more about looping their deck. On something like Necrobinder, this is disgusting. You having just all your blocks always drawn lets you store Osti HP, which converts to damage, and the run is completely free. You can just build a broken deck. Silent loves this as well because you're already good into hallways, and having your Survivor and Neutralize drawn more often means you take less chip, so it probably saves HP there, pays for the 13. Something like Clad just doesn't want this very often. I think Clad, again, barring super specific maps, probably doesn't click this. Something like Defect, where you can keep all your defends and just loop zap dual cast, is great. So it really depends on the character. For the most part, I think it's above average, but harder to click. So please evaluate this. I'm going to throw this into like bottom of A because I do click it pretty frequently, but you really need to have map considered for this. You cannot just blindly click this before you look at anything. Okay. Precise Scissors. Upon pickup, remove 1 card from your deck. This is just really average. I think this is just going straight into this tier of just things that are like technically positive but don't feel super impactful. 2 removes is a lot more than 1 in this game. I know that that sounds stupid, but the number of removes as you remove cards gets more important. Going from 1 to 2 removes is worse than going from 2 to 3, and going from 3 to 4 is better than going from 2 to 3. Basically because you're able to draw these cards that you add to your deck and actually want in your deck more frequently, and it allows you to do some more degenerate stuff. So removes get better the more you have of them. If you have a lot of base cards still, 1 remove is not super impactful because you're still really bricking your base cards pretty frequently. So the difference between 1 and 2 is really big. Please do not think of this as just I'm taking 1 more remove to take 13 damage and that sucks. This is like a really big difference here. So I think we're going to throw this into above over 11 max. It can help save HP in hallways. Again, just drawing defend instead of strike is pretty nice for the most part. A lot of characters really like having early remove. And if you have an early shop, you can remove here on Neow screen, walk into the shop, remove 2, and you have a really good deck most of the time, especially with like a couple of cards that you added from the hallways. So can be really good. Okay, scroll boxes. Upon pickup, lose all gold and choose 1 of 2 packs of cards to add to your deck. I really don't like this option. I think if you're super scared of the map, you can click it because it's just a desperation option to get you through it. So I don't really see myself wanting to pick this very often. There's a very funny like claw pack with 3 claws, but that's not even good. There's kind of memes put in by the developers. For the most part, I think you can just end up with a pile of cards you don't really want. And maybe you get 1 good card and 2 like bad ones. Yeah, losing gold is a significant downside as well. It's not strong enough. Even if this came with no minus gold, you'd still not just click this every time. So that being said, it just comes with a downside that's pretty atrocious. So I think this is going into D tier, to be honest. I'm not sure if it's better or worse than this. It can sometimes feel very similar to me, but it's pretty much never click. Maybe we put this over this. I really have not clicked these options very often. Like I've played with them a few times to test, and after that, I just really don't like them. Your deck just ends up looking really bad. I think like the 2 relics is honestly probably better though, so maybe I should switch these. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Or we just throw this down here. This is just do nothing. It's quite bad. Okay. Silver Crucible. The first 3 card rewards you see are upgraded. The first treasure chest you open is empty. This is new in this game, and one of my, I think, favorite, not in terms of strength, but in terms of design. It's very interesting and leads to a lot of spots where you have to ask some interesting questions. On certain characters, I don't think this is really that good. It depends on how good your upgrades are, and if you really don't care about losing gold in a relic, because the chests also have missing gold. You're usually guaranteed to get gold in this game, unlike Spire 1 where you were not. So you are giving up minus gold later and also a relic later. But the early power can snowball. If you have a map that is, again, high value, this can help you farm it. If you walk into an elite with 3 upgraded cards, you obviously don't care if your chest is empty because you haven't even gotten there yet. If it's just going to allow you to take a path safely that otherwise, you know, maybe you'd be taking a really shit path, for lack of a better word, this can allow you to just farm, and that's really strong. On the other hand, if you have a map that's low value and you'd be getting upgrades anyways, maybe you don't care as much, and it really encourages not skipping the first 3 cards, you really don't want to skip with this. For the most part, you're going to be clicking 3 cards. They may not be the best cards ever, but usually green cards are just kind of good enough. So I think I'm going to throw this in A. Certain characters don't always want it, and I think it's map dependent in a way that is not true for like these 2 options really. But overall, probably pretty strong. You can essentially really just think of your first chest being whetstone or war paint kind of, and that's a way to think about it. Obviously, you know, you're trading the minus gold or whatever and you're getting earlier power. It kind of does a consistent thing every run, which is important in this game. When I look at a map and I know it's scary, I want to have an option that I know is going to do something to bail me out, and you're not gambling on high rolling. Something like random rare is sort of a gamble, right? You may get complete trash, and that's acceptable on some maps and not on others. So again, you need to really consider your map. Something like Silence really loves just having good cards in the deck. Necro probably often doesn't need it, and oftentimes just full blocks anyways, and just wants the relic. Clad is a little weird. Sometimes I feel like I just don't have block cards to click anyways, and it feels a little strange. You're gonna have to evaluate run to run. It's not something you can just slam. I think this is like something that you just have to think about. It's not an always click for sure. So because of that, I'm just not going to put it in S, but it is, I feel like, pretty strong. That might change if relics get changed or if card pools get rebalanced, but for the most part, it feels like it saves a lot of HP. Okay. Stone Humidifier. Whenever you rest at a rest site, raise your max HP by 5. This is a delayed value bonus that, for the most part, is not doing very much. You can also consider that this is snowballing and making future rests better because, again, of the thing we talked about, having rest be a percentage of your max HP. I don't love this. It's not nothing in the same way that this is or that the concha is for the most part. But if you're already going into the run planning on resting, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself into not being able to do the upgrade or something and get value out of your now if things go right, which you do want to be able to snowball. So oftentimes this is just a complete nothing of a bonus. I think I really have not clicked this very often. So probably just gonna throw this into D tier somewhere. It can do something. It's just not awesome. Small Capsule is just for Common Relic at the start of the run. And if you watch the tier list on commons, you will realize how good Common Relics actually are. So I think that is easily going into bottom of S tier, if not maybe just top of A, but somewhere in that ballpark. If you want more context on why commons are just really good, they're usually immediate power and something you can sometimes build around. So just really good value, kind of good on most maps, always safe to click. Can't really go wrong with it unless there's like a really broken option that you need to be considering situationally. It doesn't say common. Wait, what? I swear it's just common. I don't think I've ever not gotten a common from it. Oh, it just says random. Well, we can redo that. I mean, it's still really good. Just getting a random relic is really solid. There's just not really that many bricks in this game. A lot less than in Spire 1. And for the most part, most of the relics are doing something right away and gives you a lot of direction. So Small Capsule is still really, really solid. Still bottom of S, top of A. Honestly, if it was just common, it might even be better. I'm not sure. Common relics are just so sick in this game. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to Act 2 Agents. Okay. Alchemical Coffer. Abundant pickup. Gain 4 potion slots filled with random potions. This is from Orobas, and we're going to do all the Orobas ones first. This is really strong from bailing you out from a position that's kind of weak, which automatically makes it pretty good in my book. Also, if it's not just bailing you out with a bunch of random potions because you're dying right away, you can hoard those potions for the end game and throw them in the fights that actually do kill you. And the encounter balance in this game very frequently is like completely joke of a fight versus, oh god, I'm literally dying fight. And there's not a whole lot of in between. So having resources that are preserved in the potion belt to throw in the fights that are really difficult is very strong. You can sort of hoard potions throughout the run and put them where the pressure points of the run are, or where maybe your deck is really bad at. So you have exclusively one bad matchup. Like in Act 3, you know you're going to be really scared of the 3 knights that can like de-upgrade your entire deck and make your cards ethereal because you just want to sit in the fight and block. And with that kind of deck, if you can't kill one of the knights very quickly, it's really, really scary, right? So having that already prepped, if you know that by the end of Act 1 you have a really strong deck and the end game there's only a few problem fights, as long as you know what those problem fights are, you can just hoard potions that solve the fights. And it is really, really good at doing that exact job. I think this is easy A tier for me. I've had this a handful of times. Every time it's felt really strong. This might feel worse if you're a newer player or maybe not as good at identifying what your deck is bad at, but I think with player skill going up, this will feel better to you. Okay, Archaic Tooth. Upon pickup, transform a starter card with an ancient version. For the most part, all of them are pretty good. There's a couple of duds, so it's kind of hard to evaluate this. I've done that on all the character tier lists, I think, and evaluated these cards. So if you need a reference, you can go ahead and look at that. I think they just range from anywhere from like S to D though. So I'm going to throw this bang into average right now. It's really hard to just look at this because it's not a very consistent bonus between characters and between runs. You can really just look at the card and see how good that is rather than look at this tier list and see this. Okay. Driftwood. You may re-roll each card reward once. In a game that has a lot of cards that are bad and a lot of cards that are good and not really much in between, This is really good for just finding the specific pieces that you're looking for. You see just double card rewards. This snowballs out of control extremely quickly, like extremely quickly. So I think if you're just not immediately dying in Act 2 hallways, which can happen, but let's say you're playing a run where you know that's not happening, this is probably just going to be one of the best things you can see. Easy A tier. The fact that it can sometimes not bail you out of a really bad position where you're dying in the first couple of hallways gets it knocked down, I think, from being an S. But it will perform. Something like the 4 potions and the extra slots will perform right away and also perform later, and it really carries not very much risk. So I think it's going to go beneath that. How do the rerolls work with rare odds? I actually don't know. I would assume that the rare chance increases in the same way because you're seeing a card reward. And this would basically mean you see double the number of rares. But Electric Shrimp. Upon pickup, enchant a skill with Imbued. This card is played automatically at the start of each combat. Read very carefully. This says skill and not anything else. I think I clicked this one time thinking I could do a power when I was playing the game pretty early on, and I could not. If you have a skill that's very good to play at the start of combat, this is very good. Sometimes you can just play acrobatics on turn 1, or your adrenaline, or whatever, or maybe a big doom card on Necrobinder, and that's going to weaken all the enemies, and that's an insane card to play. Very cool relic. I think it's pretty narrow when it is going to be really broken. So I think I have to put this into C. It's not something you're always happy to see. You kind of need to have a haymaker of a card. It can be really cool. It can be extremely cool and sort of filter your draw. I love it, but I don't think it's going to be super strong in the vast majority of your runs. Yeah, End of Days is a big one from Necrobinder that it's going to autoplay. But yeah, it's limited to only skills, which makes it a lot worse. You can't just pick the best card in your deck and play it. If this said powers, this thing is crazy. Like if you can play your Void form or Echo form or whatever, maybe not Void form, but Echo form or whatever at the start of combat, be nuts, right? Yeah, it's just not very often that you actually have something you care about doing this. Okay, Glass Eye. Upon pickup, obtain 2 common cards, 2 uncommon cards, and 1 rare card. These are card packs, selections, not random cards, not just looking at 5 cards total. There's selections. Getting an extra rare card selection is really strong. What might be more broken, honestly, is 2 packs of just looking at uncommons, because uncommons really are the bread and butter cards that sometimes you're just fishing for a couple of really important ones. If you're just like, I need to find a Burning Pact, or I need to find Focus on Defect, or I need to find like Dirge or whatever, and that's going to be really strong. You just see so much to fix your deck and make your deck super strong going to Act 2. If you have a deck that's like a few cards away from infinite, this is going to find all the pieces. If you really have a deck that's a few cards away from doing any sort of cool thing, you're going to be able to find pieces for it. So it's basically a super orrery that adjusts rarity of cards. So I do like this a lot. I think it's probably just going into A tier. It's pretty similar to just getting a bunch of potions right away, because you can sort of fix all the problems with your deck right away. So yeah, probably just an A tier. Depends on obviously what your deck looks like, but for the most part, extra rare card is just going to be super strong, and the uncommons are crazy. Your character might also have stuff like Defy, where the common cards are just gross. So yeah, we'll see if that changes. Maybe the rebalancing happens and the game is less like you need specific pieces. I would love if that would happen, but right now the game feels like that, and a lot of decks are trending smaller and smaller, and also trending towards sort of Force Infinite. So hopefully that gets rebalanced, and maybe we'll change this, but I think it's always going to be pretty solid. It's just a lot of card rewards, and that's just very good. Prismatic Gem. Gain energy at the start of each turn. Card rewards now contain cards from other colors. So on the opposite side of the spectrum, I should say, you have a boss reward that is essentially comparable to a relic in Spire 1, except it gives you energy now. I think this can be thought of kind of like Busted Crown. If you really want specific synergy pieces for your character, if you have things that are like, whenever I apply Doom, block. Whenever I, discard this card, do a thing. Like, every character sort of has combo pieces within its own kit that just work with only cards from their kit. This is not going to be good for you. It just decreases the chance you can find anything that works with your kit. if you have a run that is basically a complete deck and you just want energy to put your powers in play, it works. But for the most part, it's just going to brick your card rewards. You can get a really fun run, but if you have a lot of direction in your deck, it's going to make it really hard to make something cohesive happen. And by the end of Act 1, you probably do have that already happening. So I think I'm going to throw this in D. I really don't ever want to pick this thing. I haven't been so desperate for energy in this game that I would click this, or I think I'm going to die. For the most part, Act 2 is just not challenging enough to really force you to say, you need energy now or you're going to die in 2 hallways. That just hasn't happened to me. Maybe that will change if the game gets rebalanced, but for now, almost a never click. It's fun. It's probably one of the coolest relics in the game, but just not something good. Okay, Radiant Pearl. At the start of each combat, add 1 luminescence into your hand. This is a one-time card that retains, that plays for 0 and makes 2 energy. You can think of this, if you are familiar with the first game, as like a upgraded miracle. That is very strong in this game. There are so many decks where I know that if I can play a certain power, like any of the forms, I will win the fight. This essentially lets you hold this until you draw into said power and slam it. So I don't have to make the decision now to not block to play my Echo Form and take 15 to the face. I can instead just block and play my Echo Form too. It's really strong. I think for the most part, this is just easy A tier for me. Depends on the run for sure. It may not do something if you're not, relying on a big turn to get set up. But I think most decks really do rely on a big burst turn to do stuff. And the fact that this can be used whenever is very strong. If you have the relic that upgrades your starting hand at the start of combat, I think it's Bellows or something, this will upgrade this to draw or to create 3 energy, which is a super cool interaction. So if you have that relic, look out for this. I had that in 1 run. It was very, very strong. Definitely a big plus for me. Okay, Sandcastle. Upon pickup, upgrade 6 random cards. For the most part, this is probably hitting a lot of basics. I think this will hit like 2 to 3 not basics and probably on average hit like 3 to 4 basics. Depends on obviously what's in your deck. But for the most part, if you have any really core cards that you need to manually upgrade, you probably already did it. If you're super upgrade dependent and you walk into Act 2 with no upgrades, it can do something. But I think it's often not going to be insane. Upgrading all your base cards is a really good bonus. But I think there's just better stuff most of the time on the screen when I see this. I think I'm throwing this into C. Again, the ceiling's really high. I think a lot of these boss relics sometimes feel like complete duds, and other times you're like, that's crazy. And that is pretty cool. I like the design of that sort of interaction where some runs it's going to be really awesome and sometimes it's just doing nothing for you. I think it leads to interesting decisions and having to actually consider this every time rather than just following the tier list and just clicking the option that's good, regardless of what's going on in your run. So Sandcastle's cool, just not as good. Okay, Sea Glass. See 15 cards from another character, choose any number of them to add to your deck. This is kind of like a library. I don't think I've actually clicked this, but again, I think looking at cards from other classes is usually just going to be bad. Most of the time, I think you're probably clicking Necro. I think Necro has the most stuff that just works without any synergy. This is always 5 common, 5 uncommon, 5 rare. It's very cool. And it shows you what characters picked. So I think with that knowledge, we still probably have to put this pretty low, unfortunately. The fact that you just get a random character, you're probably not going to be able to do anything with the synergy packages that are in there, and a lot of the characters are going to be duds. If it picks exactly Necrobinder, you can probably have a cool run happen. But yeah, for the most part, I think this is probably just D tier. There's some really fringe niche situations. Maybe we throw it in bottom of C. If you have no synergy pieces, like let's say you get clad rares, and half of the cards say, if you have like exhausted, or if you lost life, or if you did this, like it just doesn't work, right? A lot of the cards just straight up don't work with your character because it's relying on synergy from other cards. And you're basically relying on this one relic to give you all the synergy packages you need to make it work. It's funny, but I just don't think it's very good. If your run's really desperate and you just need to pick something for immediate power, I guess it can save you. But yeah, it seems pretty bad to me. Okay. Touch of Orobas. Upon pickup, replace your starter relic with an ancient version. If you're playing Clad, you get Black Blood, which is an increase from 6 to 12 of your starter relic. which if you have heavy life loss synergies, if you have offering, then this can be doing something really nice for you. For the most part, probably not very good. You're trading just a lot of power probably in the other options for this that is like a minimal effect. Ring of the Drake. At the start of your first 3 turns, draw 2 additional cards. With very specific decks and decks that don't really rely on energy, this can be very strong. So just depends on what kind of deck you have. I would say if you really just want to get through your first deck cycle and deploy powers, this is getting you to your powers really quickly. If you don't need that help, or you really just want to go in on turn 1 or something, and there's a different option on the screen, obviously you can pick it. I think it's probably pretty average. I don't think it's going to be better than a lot of the other options that are on the screen, but probably decidedly B. Okay, for Regent, this is extra 3 stars compared to just the 3 that you get normally, so 6. If you have like decisions, maybe this can do something for you. For the most part, I feel like my deck has been built in a way that I don't have a massive need for a bunch of stars right away, because I built the deck in such a way that I don't have a lopsided amount of star generation. This can let you play like the Gambit card, whatever it's called, that makes 9 stars, but I often have not wanted this. It probably depends on deck construction. Sometimes it's going to be really cool and go off, but probably roughly around C. Phylactery Unbound. At the start of each combat, summon 5. At the start of your turn, summon 2. I think this is actually pretty solid. Past the early game, this does start to fall off a lot. But really, you can think of this as like mini Anchor. You get 5 block basically for free, and Asti scales throughout the fight more quickly. So this can let you stabilize. It's really just going from 1 to 2 after the first turn, but that is still really solid to get 5 at the start just to save chip. So I think this is probably the best one. Every time I've taken this, it's felt really good. It stacks turn 1 as 7 summon. Yeah, so you basically get a huge amount of front load, because normally Asti is only 1 HP a front load block at the beginning, but I think this thing has been really, really solid out of all the character starter relics. And Necker is obviously going to do stuff with this, even with just the starter deck, and honestly will do stuff, you know, with other cards in the kit as well. This just increases your unleash damage on turn 1 even, and throughout the fight as well. It will scale that faster. Okay, Infused Core. At the start of each combat, channel 3 lightning. This, I hate lightning orbs, man. If you were around in Spire 1, you know how much I hate lightning orbs. I don't know if you have like the thing that deals or channels twice the amount of lightning is what you've created. You have the one card that does it. Like, sure. Random targeting on lightning is so bad. Really, this is just 2 lightning, and it can honestly make you not able to evoke other orbs, which is like really annoying. I mean, it's just not good. I think this thing is like D. With that, I think this is probably like in C tier. For the most part, I think they're largely bad. Necrobinder is the best one, and maybe Silent after that, but I'm not in love with a lot of these. And again, you're thinking about getting those relics, but trading an option that's also on screen. So you might have something else that's really strong. How often is this thing going to be stronger? Probably not very often. I think it's one of those things that's like, okay, if you brick all your stuff, this is not negative. And I think Spire 2 did away with a lot of the negative boss relic designs that are just not good for you. Save a couple, but yeah, for the most part, I think you're not clicking this very often. Okay, Pael's Blood. At the start of your turn, draw 1 additional card. S tier. We are into now a different ancient. This is a different guy. This is crazy. Basically, I have machine learning in play from turn 1. It helps my turn 1. It helps every single turn. Every time after that, lines up all your combos in the game where everything is a combo relic or combo card. Just disgusting relic. Completely gross to click a thing that just says draw an additional card every turn that you have to normally draw into and play a power and wait a turn. That is really crazy. Okay, Pael's Claw. Upon pickup, enchants all defense with Goopy. S tier. Goopy basically says you increase the amount of block on the card by 1 for every time you play it, and it exhausts. What this really says is go infinite, because now you've exhausted all of your defense in your deck, and they all turn into genetic algorithm to give you front load block to scale. So if you have not just removed a bunch of defense or transforms,
This is like an insanely sick relic. I think we're just putting this at number 1 right now. This is crazy. If you have Echo Form, you can double that and scale them by 2. It's just so insanely broken. This will probably get changed if I had to guess. Just a disgusting, disgusting thing. Removing 4 cards or 5 cards from your deck while also making them into good cards. Just gross. Okay, Pael's Eye. The first time each combat, you end your turn without playing cards. Exhaust your hand and take an extra turn. What? What is this, man? It says Vault in a Bottle. Speaking of exhausting cards, go infinite. And when we talk about all the other characters just basically being able to go infinite every run, this is why. If you just look at what the Ancients are doing, you have so many things that just exhaust your whole deck. For no reason. You get 4 or 5 removes and maybe more. Like if you have like a machine learning or something in play, it can just exhaust 6 for no reason and vault. If you ever brick, just exhaust your whole hand. Go again. Crazy. It's brick protection, it's exhaust, it's infinite enabler. It's just insane. Every time I've had this, it's completely disgusting and just wins the run. I don't think I've ever lost when I have this. Okay. Pael's Flesh. Gain an additional energy at the start of your 3rd turn and every turn after that. Okay, this is kind of a stinker. You do want front-loaded bonus with a lot of your relics to do something, but when you're clicking this is the beginning of Act 1, and when this is going to play is really the end of the act in the boss fight. I don't really think that you want this that only does something after like turn 3, you know? It's just, I guess on turn 3 I should say. But waiting 2 turns to get 1 energy is just not that strong. Like there's so many options just give you so much front load currently that this is just not something I ever need, and I would rather just take a front loaded option and play a power that does something that solves the long fight. It's just a weird way to solve the long fight for me. Still better than like the complete garbage, but yeah, pretty whack. Okay, Pael's Growth. Upon pickup, enchant a card with Clone. This gives you an option at a rest site to instead duplicate it. If you have something that is going to be really broken with this, you'll know. If you have Adrenaline or Big Bang that is like a free cantrip, super cool. You do still need to get to a campfire, so it does nothing until that, but this thing can really go off. Notably, it does go exponential because when you're cloning, you make 2 copies, and then the 2 copies will make 4, and then those 4 copies will make 8. Each one will kind of increase in value, right? So it can do some fun stuff. I think for the most part, this is not something you really want. Having to wait until you get to the fire and then also needing a card that is even worth cloning in the first place is a lot of conditions when there's so many options that are just immediately good. If the whole Act 2 is just only campfires and you have something broken, sure. But if you have something broken, you're probably okay and you don't need to clone to do the thing. It's fun, but how often is it really going to save your run? I don't know. How often do you even have cards you want like 8 copies of? I don't know. It's just not very often. So I think let's throw this in like C. It's probably better than like these or this thing and this thing, but yeah, not great. Okay, Pael's Horn. Upon pickup, add 2 Relax to your deck. This is a card that says 3 energy, gain 15 block. Next turn, draw 2 cards and gain 2 energy. I think this upgrades to 3 cards and 3 energy. 15 block is not enough, I think, to really justify skipping your entire turn and not being able to play any powers out of it. So if you have extra energy to be able to put these into play and still play like your 1-cost powers or anything else, then this can be really good. But for the most part, I don't think this is really worth your boss relic slot. If you have Pocket Watch, this thing is disgusting. It says draw 10, get 2 extra energy. So obviously if you have Pocket Watch, you're probably pretty happy, but just having front loaded block with Pocket Watch to pass your turn and next turn get advantage of all the cards, it's really sick. For the most part, I don't click this very often, but I think we can throw this in like kind of top of maybe middle of C tier. Don't sleep on this. It's definitely going to enter more often than you would think. Maybe something like Cloud can click it to just fill hand. And then if you have like combos you need to line up, like Cloud wants to line up second wind with some stuff to exhaust down, it can really help do that. But yeah, the number's just not big enough. I think if this is 2 energy, it's really good. Like if these are not 3 energy and instead 2, they are sick. Super sick. But the fact that you're on 3 base and not able to play your other powers while doing this, you don't make any progress in the fight. You're just playing 15 and having a giga turn basically after that. Okay,
Pael's Legion doubles block gain from a card, then goes to sleep for 2 turns. So basically this is going to let you block a lot like every 3 turns. There's a relic that does something very similar to this and then doesn't come back online. It's not crazy. I think not being able to choose when this activates obviously is like a huge downside, and most of the things you're getting from ancients are just going to be a lot more output than this. You can think of it as like an energy every other turn because you get to play like an extra defend or something every 2 turns, but that's just not great. I'm gonna throw this into C. It's gonna be higher than like some of these things, but for the most part, it's just not doing enough. Again, you're comparing this to everything else on this list, and when there's so much stuff that's so broken, it is just not gonna shine. Pael's Tears. If you end your turn with unspent energy, gain an additional 2 energy next turn. You can imagine that on turn 1, you play like 2 energy worth of block, you pass, and then next turn you have 5 energy, and you can continually always keep 1 energy unspent with the option to have a turn where you spend more. I think this plays better than it reads for a lot of cases. I actually don't mind this a ton. I don't think it's anything insane, but it's much better than like the Pael's Flesh, for example. Yeah, it is bread with extra steps. I don't hate it. You are trading a boss relic for it, and bread you have to buy, and that's a lot easier. Pocket Watch with this would be really cool. It's sometimes hard to have a deck where you can actually float an energy on turn 1 to keep this train going. If every turn you're sort of forced to play all your energy's worth of output, it can be bad. So you need specific cards, I think, or a lot of energy generation to sort of bank energy in general for this to be really good. But I think we're going to throw it in like B tier. It is like good after turn 1 always, and doesn't necessarily hurt you like in the same way bread does, but it's definitely not like one of the more broken things. Okay, Pael's Tooth. Upon pickup, remove 5 cards from your deck. After each combat, randomly add 1 back upgraded. This is a weird one. So you're not actually getting removes. It can do some things with like the book that heals you every 5 cards you add and just kind of give you a heal. But if you have a bunch of like powers or things that are like bad in your deck that become good when they're green, so like 2 cost powers that upgrade to 1, for example, that are like bricks in the hallways, you can sort of remove your bricks in the hallways and add them back throughout. But it feels a little weird because like if you're trying to like remove strikes or something because they're bricks, like I don't really care about getting the strike back. And for the most part, I don't want to be removing my cards that are good to get them upgraded because it makes the first couple fights a lot harder. I've picked this a handful of times, but I think it's really awkward. You have to be very careful about picking this up. And for the most part, it's really going to be like 1 or 2 important upgrades, and then you're selecting base cards so you don't die. I think is really what's happening most of the time. I think it's just kind of mid. It's interesting and can do some fun stuff, but for the most part, I don't think I have a bunch of cards that are just bricks because I didn't build my deck like that, that have to be upgraded to not be bricks. I don't have that many bricks in my deck. I have like 1 or 2 that I've been carrying around trying to upgrade, but yeah, for the most part, it's just not great. I mean, even if you like remove all your defense to try and have green defense, I'm playing a bunch of fights without blocks now, and that's not that great either. Like I remember one time I had like a defrag that I put into this and a bunch of like defends or something, and I got the defrag back last that I would have loved to have back immediately. So depends on the map. I think this is really just like C tier for me, like maybe below the shrimp. Not amazing, but definitely has its spots. Okay, Pael's Wing. You may sacrifice card rewards to Pael. Every 2 sacrifices obtain a relic. I'm already skipping a lot in this game, so the fact that every 2 card rewards that you skip just gives you a relic, and relics are pretty solid in this game, can just print value. You can sort of just take hallways, which is cool. I think this is pretty broken if you're allowed to skip cards. So if you are in an okay spot, not even good, I'll say, this gets out of hand really quickly and does snowball. So the fact that you're oftentimes going to be skipping cards anyways just gives you sort of a reward for doing this. Seems like the plus 2 HP. Yeah, but it's a lot better than Singing Bull, I think. It is a boss relic, so we're going to dock a little bit for that. But just getting so much value over time if you're just not immediately dying in the hallways, which again, I think most decks are not immediately dying in the hallways. I'm just going to throw this into A tier. I don't think it's as good as like rerolling your stuff, but it is really cool. Yeah, very good. Okay, we are to everyone's least favorite ancient, or maybe your favorite if you're a contrarian. Tez. This is probably the ancient with the worst overall pool of stuff. You can get some really big high rolls.
But for the most part, you're getting garbage. There is a lot of times that you click Tez and all three options are just not good. Sometimes they're actively negative. I think that's when I was talking about the design of some of the entrants. All the other ones are mostly just always positive. Tez can just sort of give you just bricks, and it's not great to get that. So let's go ahead and start. Big Hug. Upon pickup, remove 4 cards from your deck. Whenever you shuffle your draw pile, add a soot into your draw pile. This does exactly something cool with like a Burning Pact Infinite or something that's constantly exhausting cards within the loop. If your deck wants 4 removes in the first place, you're probably shuffling your deck a lot and you don't want the soot in the draw pile. The idea of removing 4 cards is good for a deck that wants to loop, but the soot is like exactly the bad thing that you don't want. There's 2 things that are like completely competing with each other that it's super awkward. I've had this like one run where it was like remotely pickable and that's it. So I think we're gonna just throw this into D. Like, this should just not be removed. It should just give something else entirely. Really, really strange. I think, like, for the most part, this is unpickable for most decks and for most characters. Especially if you're playing in the way that I've been playing, which is a lot of small decks in this game. Because, again, look at all these relics. They just draw a bunch or remove a million cards. Like, you have so much context in this game to point you in the direction of just building small decks, and that's what seems really strong and very consistent at winning. And this is just really bad for 99% of those decks. So it might be like okay in a bigger deck, but at the end of Act 1, your deck is not even going to be that big. It's just like not possible. So really strange. Okay, Golden Compass. Upon pickup, replace the Act 2 map with a single special path. This path has 2 chests in it, a bunch of events, and notably the elites are at the end after 2 fires. I believe this is the same path every single time. This has 2 extra floors in it. That's something to be paying attention to. That just gives you 2 extra floors to get stronger relative to the game scaling. I think it's kind of weird. In the current setup of the game, Act 3 is not super punishing. And so the fact that it makes your Act 2 kind of easy means that if you have a deck that's like a couple things away from just beating the endgame and you just need to survive Act 2, it probably makes you survive Act 2. Getting a million events and no card rewards, I mean, like, you get some. I think there's two fights or something, and then the elites at the end. You don't see that many card rewards, and I think you get a shop as well. It can be awkward. If you need a lot of stuff to increase your deck's power, you're not really getting it here. The problem with events is that you just don't see cards. At the same time, it's like underrated. I think you shouldn't swing in the opposite direction so hard. It's often, picked because the other options are just bad and you just have to pick it. It's not like amazing. I think we'll throw it in B. It feels very average. If and when Act 4 is added to the game, I think this gets a lot worse because the amount that the game is asking of you to scale is going to get a lot higher. The bar that you're going to have to meet is going to get higher, and this sort of just doesn't raise your power level as much as the others. It just means you don't die, which sometimes is not enough. Like in Spire 1, if you played Act 2 to not die, that just really translates to dying in Act 4. And when that starts happening, when the end game of Spire 2 gets more balanced and it gets more difficult to survive the end game, this thing gets worse. Right now, it's not so bad, but often I'd rather just have a power and play the act normally. You can look at the map. If it's going to kill you, you can click it and it will bail you out of it. But yeah, not an insane thing, not awful either. Okay, Nutritious Soup. Upon pickup, enchant all strikes in your deck with Tezcatara's Ember. This turns them into 0 cost and unremovable. So you are stuck with these strikes in your deck. You can really think of this as like Astrolabe that transforms your strikes into Slice and you can't remove them. How good is that? Not very good. I'm pretty sure this is just decidedly in D tier, maybe at the top of D tier. It's some output, but yeah, I like never want this. Very often I've just removed cards or transformed my strikes anyways. It doesn't even let you remove them. You're stuck with them forever. So really, really strange. I don't know what they were going with this. It's just not a strong enough bonus to really be anything you ever want. I guess like if you have no strikes and the other options are bad, then click it because it doesn't do anything. I don't know. That's it. Okay, Pumpkin Candle. Gain energy at the start of each turn. Extinguishes at the start of Act 3. So, like I was saying, if you have a deck that you know beats the end game, and you just need to live Act 2, this is short-term benefit for no long-term gain. I think this is better than some of the other Tez options, but for the most part, I want to get stronger throughout the run. So what this is really telling you to do with your macro idea is use the extra energy inside of Act 2 to farm elites and get strong enough in other ways to then beat Act 3 without a boss relic. That is really weird, especially when a lot of these are very strong. So I think we'll just go ahead and throw this into C tier. It's really awkward. Like, it's not negative, and it can bail you out of some situations, but I think most of the time I'm not picking a boss relic to get strong just for one act. I want it to be doing something throughout the rest of the run. So if you're confident your deck can just win Act 3, if you're allowed to be more greedy inside of Act 2, you can pick it. I think the better you are as a player, the easier it's going to be to realize when that's the case, and you'll know when this is good. Being able to draft greedily inside of Act 2 and not pick anything up is kind of strong sometimes, but oftentimes you want to be doing that in Act 1 if you're going to be doing that in Act 2 as well. And this obviously doesn't come in before Act 2. So yeah, kind of weird. Okay, Seal of Gold. At the start of your turn, spend 5 gold to gain energy. If you're poor, I believe this doesn't actually give you energy. But essentially this is like the new game's version of Ectoplasm. I have a really hard time rating this, and I think that removes in this game are very good. You can essentially think that if your deck is going to be sitting around blocking and not ending the fight immediately, you're just kind of permanently poor, and then not being able to actually ever get enough money to get the value out of this. So if your deck wins the fight on turn 1 or 2 or something, you can take this and then just sort of blitz your way through with the extra energy. But I think if your deck is winning on turn 1 or turn 2, you probably have some sort of infinite thing, or you're just like infinite on turn 1, and you'd be better off just removing instead of getting extra energy for your money. So really strange. I don't know how to rate this thing, depending on the characters, obviously, but like, I don't know how to rate this overall. It feels like it's something I almost never click. Again, Spire 2 Act 2 doesn't really demand you to have energy to not die immediately in the same way that like Spire 1, you'd walk into Act 2 and die in 2 hallways. Like, you don't just die to the avocado in 1 floor in the same way that you just die in Spire 1. And that's really when you'd pick this. It's like something you're not happy to have, but you need to pick because the energy lets you live. And that just doesn't seem like something that's actually happening very often. So let's throw this in like bottom of C or something. Really strange. Okay. Storybook. Upon pickup, add 1 brightest flame to your deck. S. This is like the one good Tez option. There's actually another one, but we'll get to it. Brightest flame says 0 energy, draw 2, gain 2 energy, lose 1 max HP. That last line of text, I think, was probably very scary for people that came from Spire 1, because being small in terms of max HP was not good. You would die to the heart in 1 hit. But again, in this game, that just doesn't happen. So nothing's killing you from full. For the most part, every time I've played with this, I end up being in end of Act 3 in the boss gauntlet with like 65 max. I really played this like 10 times or so throughout the rest of the run, but every time you play it, it basically wins the fight immediately. And in the boss gauntlet, this will just let you spam it renewably and just win the fight, because you can have your small deck, you just go infinite, you generate a ton of energy, and you cannot lose. You just win on turn 1. Crazy card. The upgrade is also 3 draw 3 energy, which is just absurd, like completely absurd. If you're taking damage from this at all, like let's say you have to play it like 10 times inside of Act 2, it probably saves you like 30 or 40 HP. If you don't need to play it, just don't play it. But it's a really disgusting relic. I've literally never lost with it. Every time I get it, I've won. Really good upgrade. You spend all the trying not to play it, but you oftentimes just don't end up having to play it very often. And when you do, it just wins. All the bosses is just going to make you always be able to win. Crazy storybook it is. Okay, Toasty Mittens. At the start of your turn, exhaust the top card of your draw pile and gain 1 strength. D tier. I don't know what the hell they were cooking with this. Exhausting the top card of your deck, you exhaust your best card, and now you just die. This will literally just kill you very frequently. And the strength is just nothing most of the time for a lot of characters. It's just really bad. like if this let you pick a card out of your hand to exhaust or something, but like I don't even know what character wants this. How often you just have a pile of crap and no good cards? I don't know. It's just a curse. Need to rework it. Completely terrible. Other ancients just don't have anything nearly remotely as bad as like what Tez has, as you'll very clearly can see here. Okay, toy box. Upon pickup, obtain 4 wax relics. Every 3 combats, your leftmost wax relic will melt away. So after 12 combats, you basically have no boss relic. This gives you short-term benefits, and then it's gone. So it's pretty similar to Pumpkin in that way. So I guess we can just put it there. I mean, I already talked about how I oftentimes want my relics to be doing something throughout the entire run and not just immediately doing nothing. And yeah, the order that you click the relics is important, but for the most part, like by the time you get into Act 3, your relics are just gone, and that's very bad. So if you're dying, it can give you a power boost. I've clicked it once. You can also click it if Tez's options are trolling you and you get like these 2 things and you really don't want them. So technically not negative, but just not something you actually want. Okay, very hot cocoa. Start each combat with an additional 4 energy. On silent, this is crazy. If you have ice cream, this is crazy. If you have an innate power that you really want to play, it's crazy. If you have bag of prep, it's crazy. There's a lot of things that make this really good, and you can front load a lot of your energy and just slam all your powers and go. And again, in this game, oftentimes you are clicking the draw cards and the things that make you go zoom zoom, because you're just trying to do some sort of infinite thing. I mean, not forcing it, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. That this can do something. So I think this is like maybe top of B tier. It's very situational when it's like actually broken, but very often it's going to be very, very strong. Yummy cookie. Upon pickup, upgrade 4 cards. This is the other good relic. So again, upgrades are pretty difficult to get in this game. Coming outside of Act 1, maybe you just got your rare card. Now you have maybe a really valuable upgrade on that. So you always at least have like probably 1 card you want to upgrade, and oftentimes like 2 or 3 luxury upgrades that can really make your deck function super well, especially if you're doing small deck infinite stuff, or even just small deck loops. Like upgrading cards when you're playing the same cards over and over and over is very strong, and oftentimes inside of Act 1 you are just resting the entire time. So this can be very, very powerful. Starts you with a very strong boost inside of Act 2. Having just upgraded cards is very strong. Even if you're just upgrading random block cards that block for like 3 or 4 more, that's blocking a lot of chip. Something I very often find myself wanting to take. I think we put this easily into A tier here. One of Tez's only not downside attached relic, I guess. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the Act 3 enchants. Okay, Act 3. Beautiful bracelet, Nonupeipe. Upon pickup, choose 3 cards in your deck, enchant them with Swift 3. Swift 3 just says that the first time you play that card each combat, you draw 3. S tier. This is crazy. By the time you get to this point in the game, you probably have a deck that is working pretty well and has a very core idea and needs to be able to just accelerate through the deck and play all your stuff. So especially if you have small deck infinite stuff, this is unbricking you like 9 times out of 10. You just draw your entire deck turn 1. So if you have like explosive energy gen combos that you need to line up, you just get everything set up on turn 1. Energy gen is already something you're picking a lot in this game, so the fact that you have this means that you get to use it. And I've never really had this feel bad. I think every time I see this, I just slam it and I win the run. If it's not winning the run, you probably either low rolled or you built a bad deck, and well, those are fixable by just building better decks and then still clicking this. Essentially, it just makes your deck do the thing it was going to do already, but better. Okay, Blessed Antler. Gain energy at the start of each turn. At the start of each combat, shuffle 3 dazed into your draw pile. If you need energy really bad, I think this is really not horrible. I don't love it. Most of the time, again, I really don't like having the status in my deck, and I'd rather just draw into my cards. But if you do have output problems, this does fix it for like pretty minimal downside. Like slower to get set up, but in longer fights you're going to be better. And with the way that Act 3 currently works, most of the time I'm literally dodging every elite. If the map does not allow you to do that, then you probably have to reconsider. But if the idea is just beat the boss gauntlet, this helps you do it. It's really, really crazy in that situation. So map dependent. I think we can just throw this into like top of B, bottom of A, probably. It feels really good for the most part to just have extra energy to get your stuff set up, especially if you have just like a lot of draw cards and energy, you know, is what you need. You'll know depending on the run whether or not that's good for you. Okay, Brilliant Scarf. The 5th card you play each turn is free. Sort of a weird energy relic. You can do some funny stuff where you just discount a 3-cost card to 0. For the most part, I think you'll know if this is good. And the fact that it's going to let you get set up like that, well, very strong. I think this is just quite solid as well. Let's just go ahead and put this into A. You will know if this is like completely unplayable. If your deck can literally not play 5 cards, then, you know, it's not very good. So maybe it depends on how many decks cannot play 5 cards at this point, but I feel like a lot of them can. If your deck isn't, then obviously not going to be great. So maybe we'll just put it in B. It's still a really good relic. I think if you know when it's good, it's going to be really broken, or there's going to be runs where it doesn't do anything. So we can put that probably in average then. Okay. Delicate Frond. At the start of each combat, fill all empty potion slots with random potions. This is really only super good if you have like Potion Belt. For the most part at this point in the game, hopefully what you're trying to do is hoard good potions for the boss gauntlet. Maybe you have a draw pot. Maybe you have like a dex pot that's going to help you have enough output in the boss. And you just hoard those things for the boss, right? And you throw your potions in the boss. I don't want to be using my potions inside of Act 3 and not getting good pots. So this helps you if you're really weak to kind of recover, and combos with the relic that gives you a bunch of extra potion slots from Act 2. So can be very good. I think I've only picked this like once. Seems pretty situational. Most of the time my deck is so strong inside of Act 3 that I'm just not using pots at all, and this is literally skipping. But I can definitely see this bailing you out of a really, really bad run. So if for whatever reason that happens, then click this thing. But yeah, I think C is pretty fair for that when it's only situationally good, and most of the time just gonna be skip. Okay, Diamond Diadem. Whenever you play 2 or fewer cards in a turn, take half damage from enemies. So if your deck has any expensive powers that usually plays like 2 cards in a turn, like your Echo Form or your Void Form or something, and just passes, or you have Pocket Watch or something, crazy relic. This is just going into S tier. If you brick it all, suddenly you just play the 2 best cards in your hand, and you pretend that whatever number of cards in your hand are left just say block for half the amount the enemy is doing. That can make you probably feel a lot better about playing less cards a turn. Just really, really broken. This oftentimes just blocks for full. If you have any amount of like passive output whatsoever, blocking for full. Necrobinder can play 2 big chunky cards, block for full. You play Dirge, block for full. Like, it's just so dumb. It's so dumb. It means you just never get completely owned. It's such good brick protection and lets you get set up. And in a game where setting up is really the biggest problem, your deck just needs to find a way to scale. This is doing all the front load block for you while you're getting set up. Yeah, crazy. Every time I've had this, I've won. Literally never lost with it. It's just disgusting. It's so much output. If you are someone that is getting shocked by evaluations of some of these things, I think what you should do is really just turn the amount on this into a number. How much is this blocking a turn? It's often blocking 15, 20 a turn. That is a crazy relic. How much energy do you need and how much draw do you need to play cards to do a similar effect? And you don't have to draw into it. It just always works. So really, really consistent relic. Just absolutely insane. Okay, Fur Coat. Upon pickup, mark 7 random combats. Enemies in this room have 1 HP. Really good for time save. By the time you get to Act 3, hopefully your deck is not so bad that you literally can't fight anything. I don't know what this is doing. Probably just D tier. I picked it like twice just because I knew I was going to win the run, and I was literally speedrunning and didn't need anything. But really strange. You have no control over where this is. It doesn't even say like next 7 combats or something. Just really weird. You can like cheese elites with it, but like, why am I cheesing elites instead of just getting a relic that's worth more than like the 3 relics I'm going to get from cheesing elites? If you get super lucky. Strange. Okay. Glitter. Enchants all card rewards with Glam. So Glam says this card has replay once per combat. So it double plays. This does not enchant cards that are already in your deck. It enchants the card rewards that you're going to see. So anything you're going to add inside of Act 3 will have doubled value. That is obviously really insane. However, I think for the most part, very oftentimes, by the time I get to this point in the game, I'm skipping a lot of cards. I'm really not adding that much. And so I think that's going to dock it. If you could see this in Act 2, it'd be completely busted. I really don't feel like I want this thing very often, but it's super fun. I think this is probably just going into like bottom of B tier for me. It's obviously not nothing, and it creates a lot of output out of nowhere. If your deck is really far from being done and you need a lot, then this is going to bail you out of a bad run. So for that reason alone, I'm going to just throw it into B tier. The fact that it bails out of bad runs is so important because those are a lot of the runs that those are the only times you're going to lose, you know? If you get to this point in any sort of decent run, you probably already won the game already. That's just how the game's designed. There's no real endgame challenge. I think that's like actually going to ask anything of you for the most part. But this thing can really fix a lot of problems if you're like a couple cards away and your deck is just like sort of missing a lot of stuff. It just doesn't have that much output. This can make like a 1 power UC be all the output you need and can bail you out really easily. So yeah, not crazy in most runs I think that I've had. It just depends on how good your deck is by the time you get here. Jewelry box. Upon pickup, add Apotheosis to your deck. In this game, Apotheosis says innate, upgrade all cards for the rest of combat. Costs 2 energy. The upgraded version costs 1. So it basically says for 1 energy after you upgrade it, upgrade everything. This can upgrade cards that you create in the middle of combat. So if you have like Forge on regens, you make the sword, then you upgrade the sword with the Apo. That's super cool because it costs 1. So there's a lot of really broken things that you can do with this. If you're just lacking a couple of core upgrades in your deck, can be really, really strong. Again, I feel like the number of times that Apo is actually super broken for me in this game is a lot less at this point in the run. But obviously, this is going to do a lot for you in runs that are kind of bad or lagging behind. So for that reason, I cannot put it lower than anywhere like B, right? I think I'm just throwing it into bottom of A. Just the way the game is designed. Maybe when, you know, we have less upgrades or bigger decks and more crap in them, and I really want a bunch of value out of all the cards, you'll know when this is good. If your upgrades are good, it's good. If they're not, it's not. It's probably just bottom of A. I'm not going to put it like into the super broken stuff because it's not always working and being insane like the Tiara or the Swift thing. But yeah, it's Apo is a very strong card. I think we know this. Always having it come innate is very strong. An entirely upgraded deck will often win. If you have all the infinite pieces and you just want all your draw cards to be green, slam it. You're going to win the run. Okay, Looming Fruit. Upon pickup, raise your max HP by 31. This improves your rest. For the most part, I think I click this when I know the run's already over and I want to rush to the boss gauntlet. I don't think that means that this relic is super strong. Max HP is good, and it's a lot of it. It can make you really big, and that means it's really hard to die. Why? Well, again, the reason why the TR is good is because it lets you get set up. Having max HP really is just block. So if you walk into the boss gauntlet with 120 max health or something, and you just pay 60 life per fight to play your Echo form, and you win the fight, congrats. If you know your deck has all the win conditions in it and it just needs time to set up, this is time. So again, it helps the runs that are really good already. It doesn't really help the runs that are bad. I think I'm going to throw this into like B. It does something, but for the most part, yeah, it's not bailing you out of a run that's really bad. And that's hurting it a lot. Maybe we can put it into like top of C. It's not something I'm like sad to click, but it's just not amazing. Okay, Signet Ring. Upon pickup, gain 999 gold. This is kind of crazy. 999 gold, no downside. If you have like a 2 or 3 shot path or courier, you're just gonna buy a bunch of relics. So really, you can think of this as like slightly delayed, but buy a ton of stuff. This could be like a million removes. It could be like 3-4 removes even. Usually it's like 2 or 3. You just path to all the shops in the act. It's gonna be really broken. I'm gonna put this in A tier. If there's not a lot of shops, obviously you can't click it, so it's not going to be the most insane thing ever. You will know. Just look at the map. Every single option on here is just map dependent, basically, for this entire tier list. Like, not just Act 3, but Act 1 and 2. You really need to just look at map when you're evaluating this. Okay, Claws. This is Tanx, a new ancient. Upon pickup, transform up to 6 cards into Maul. This is a card that says, deal 5 damage twice. Increase the damage of all Maul cards by 1 this combat. So it's giving you basically scaling in kind of a fun deck of sorts. But for the most part, I don't have 6 cards I want to get rid of anymore. I don't think I've ever clicked this. For the most part, it's just not going to be what you want to be doing, because hopefully you have not your basics in the deck anymore at this point in the run. There's a lot of times where you just have way more removes than this. You don't have 6 basics left. It's a little weird. Like, I don't even think that like having slow scaling attacks is what you really want when you're transforming. Oftentimes you want to do other stuff. Okay, it says up to 6, but like even if you're just transforming 2 or 3, like, do I really want to be turning cards into attacks? Like, not really. Kind of strange. Like, I guess if your only problem is you have no boss scaling and you somehow manage to make it to Act 3, then it will kill the bosses for you. That's all it is. It's just slow scaling. So if slow scaling is your deck's problem, go ahead and click it. If not, probably just CTR. Okay. Crossbow. At the start of your turn, add a random attack into your hand. It costs 0 this turn. This is going into D tier. At this point, you're just not trying to just add random crap into your deck or have random attacks to solve your output. Like, how did you even get to this act if you don't have enough output to beat the Act 2 boss? I don't know what is going on in your deck for this to suddenly be a good thing to click. Like, it feels so weird. Compare this to like the fur coat. Like, I think this is just a curse more often than not, especially when you're going for small deck stuff. Like, I don't know if this had like ethereal on it and you could just randomly high roll stuff, sure, but it just clogs your deck, and every run is just small deck looping stuff. Really, really strange. Okay, Iron Club. Every 4 cards you play, draw 1 card. Draw engine that you don't have to draw into and gets very, very breakable is super cool. If you're spamming like low cost stuff at all, like souls on Necro, or you just know that you're going to be able to play like shivs or something, this can draw frequently more than 1 card a turn. Drawing 2 potentially cards a turn, or 1 or 2, is going to be very strong. This is pretty comparable to the relic in Act 2 that just draws an extra flat 1, because you can set this up between combat. So you can set this up on 3 and then go into the next fight, and on turn 1 you play your first card and it's going to draw. If you play 4 more cards after that, you will draw 2. So basically this kind of be like Bag of Prep with steps that has a way higher ceiling. I think this is pretty easily in the top of A here. Maybe even S, to be honest. I don't think it's felt as impactful as the Tiara in my other runs, and not as impactful as just adding Swift to 3 cards and getting a ton of burst draw, but it's slow, consistent draw that you can set up. Seems very strong. Okay, Meat Cleaver. You may cook at rest sites. Cooking is an option at rest sites that says remove 2 cards, gain 9 max HP. I don't know what they were thinking when they put this in the game. Who cooked this up? Pun intended. S tier. If you have like 2 rest sites and your deck is just going to win by removing cards, well, you just won the run. It's kind of like a rest combined with a bunch of removes. You can very frequently just remove 6 cards in your run. You obviously need to make it to campfires, but if you have a path that just dodges all the elites and runs to campfires, that's probably going to kill the boss. I don't think I've ever lost with this either. I'm pretty sure this is 100% win rate still. I think all these relics are 100% win rate. To be fair, most of these relics are, because if I get to Act 3, I probably haven't lost. I think I've lost like 1 or 2 runs inside of Act 3 total in my like 90 hours playing the game so far. Just if you're getting to this point, like you can probably just dodge. I think once they add Act 4, this is going to change, but we'll see. Sai. At the start of your turn, gain 7 block. This is really kind of an energy relic that just plays a card that says block 7 on it. That's how you should think about it. So if your deck is going to be playing block cards that say block 7 on it, this is really just an energy. Pretty solid. I think for the most part, I'm never upset to have this. And a lot of decks that just take time to get set up really appreciate this. It makes your bricks a lot less bad, basically. Like, even if you brick all your block, you always get 7 passive block. It's good but boring. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I think it's very, very strong. Like, getting output every turn for doing nothing is just good. It's easy A tier here. Okay, Spiked Gauntlets. Gain energy at the start of each turn. Powers cost 1 more. Obviously super dependent on the deck. If you only have 2 or 3 powers in the deck, this is probably just going to be positive. It can be little to no downside. Notably, it does increase power costs from something like power potions, so do not get owned by clicking power pot thinking it's going to be free. This will overwrite the cost of that. So something to think about. If you only have a few powers, and most decks only do have a few powers and are not spending a million, it's just free energy. I think this is going into bottom of A for me. Really, really easy to pick this, and for the most part, you can just afford like maybe having a couple turns where it's harder to play your powers, but you can really think of this if you're only playing one power a turn, that it's no downside. It's just energy every other turn, and powers exhaust, so, or not literally exhaust, but get out of your deck. So you end up with a deck that just has functionally 1 extra energy per turn for free. So pretty solid. If you have power spam, don't click it. I think it's very obvious when this is going to be good. Okay, Tanx's Whistle. Upon pickup, add 1 whistle to your deck. This is a card that reads 33 damage, exhaust, stun the enemy for 3 energy. Stun goes through artifact. So you can sort of just bonk the enemy. If you have history course, you can double play this and stun the boss twice. Pretty funny. Very specific when it's going to be broken. You can have some other synergies that like discount it or whatever, or have a way to make this be really broken. But I think 3 energy on this, like, it's hard to play other stuff when you're stunning and spending all your energy on 3 to do this. But if you're getting value out of this by, you know, having some sort of passive setup value, like you have the Aussie thing that generates HP per turn or whatever, it can be good. It's not like insane. I think it's just like C tier. It can be really broken sometimes. Very fun. It's very cool to just bonk a boss and stun it, but it's kind of crazy. Okay, the first card you play each combat is played in extra time. Only works once, not per turn. If you have something innate that you know you want to play, super cool, can like high roll really hard and play powers. I think for the most part, what I'm looking for from my boss relics is kind of stuff that helps increase my overall output. And this is kind of inconsistent at doing this. It doesn't help in long fights unless you high roll into a power. So if you have innate stuff, it can be really broken. I think for the most part, it's just kind of hard to pick this, especially against some of the other things that are really, really strong. So I think I'm going to throw this in C. It can be really good, but it is a little bit more luck dependent. If it bricks, you basically skipped. So you don't always get value out of this. If you have like stuff you know you're going to be double playing and getting a lot of value out of it, or you have something like Bag of Prep to make it more consistent to get into your good stuff, it can be cool. But again, I think you'll know when it's broken. Okay, try Boomerang. Choose 3 attacks in your deck, enchant them with Instinct. This says that the cost of the card is lessened by 1. On Clad, this is just infinite, like immediately. Again, if you know that your deck has attacks that benefit from having energy reduction, like anything that says draw on it, really broken. If you don't have those things, not so broken. It does break any draw card with as an attack. So you do have to think about it a little bit. Sometimes there's only 1 or 2 cards that you really care about. Like maybe you have 2 pommels and then you have a bash, and now you've discounted your bash by 1, and like the pommels are what you really care about. Not all characters care about attacks so much. Like Necrobinder probably doesn't care about this really at all. Defects, maybe you can discount like Compile or Sunder or something. It's a little bit weirder. Silent often doesn't have anything super broken by this. Like I'm not really picking Dagger Throw as much anymore. It's a little weird. I think like in the runs where it's really broken, it's really, really broken. But I think this is like super Clad pilled. If you have Clad, like have this, you're probably going to be pretty broken because you have like 0 cost Pillage or something, but weird. 2 Grave Blasts is also infinite. The problem with this is that I don't have 2 Grave Blasts in my deck to begin with because I usually don't have any Grave Blasts. Making Unleash free can be broken. Yeah, sure. But I think if like your boss rock is making 1 attack free and you don't care about the other ones, it's not so good. Like if it's just 1 card and it's not making it insanely gross, it's like 1 energy per deck cycle, which is not crazy. I think for the most part, it's just not awesome. Let's throw it in top of C. Again, stuff in C tier can be incredibly broken with the right setup, and you'll have runs where it pops off. So I don't want someone to just look at this and be like, how dare he do this? Like I've had Clad runs that this thing was insanely busted. Okay. But for the on average run, I think this is not doing that much for you compared to the other things. Okay, Warhammer, whenever you kill an elite, upgrade 4 random cards. I don't know in Act 3 when you really want 4 random cards to be upgraded. I usually feel like I want some power, and I'm not really even fighting the elites in Act 3 anyways.
With that context, this is probably just in C, like towards the bottom. As unfortunate as it is, like it could be really strong, but any cards that I really want green, I'm probably just manually upgrading. I'm not gonna like fight the elite to risk it and then like try to rest. And there's just, it feels like there's no reason to fight elites in Act 3, truthfully. Until there is, I think this is just gonna be really bad. When it becomes important to fight elites in Act 3 and get strong for Act 4, we will reevaluate stuff. But with this context, Act 3 is just not hard enough to warrant this. Okay, Bloodsoaked Rose. Upon pickup, add 1 Enthralled to your deck. Gain 1 energy at the start of each turn. That is a card that says 2 energy. If this is in your hand, it must be played before other cards eternal. Cannot remove it. I really don't like this thing. It basically says like permanent 1 curse and can brick you on your important turn that you're trying to play like a very important power. Insanely risky. I think this is just easy D tier. Most decks, I'm going to be drawing this over and over and over again. I don't really want it. I'm like looping and doing infinite stuff in small decks. Until that changes, not picking this ever. Okay, Choices Paradox. At the start of each combat, add 1 of 5 random cards into your hand. Add Retain to the chosen card. Card selection in this game to be able to pick a card that's good for the fight you're in is really cool. So I think that this is just really strong and you can always retain it, which is very sweet. This can just completely solve a boss fight for you. If you have like no answer to certain fights, it can just win on the spot. And it just +1 card on turn 1 and any turn after that. I think this is like A tier. I really think this thing plays better than it reads. You might be like confused that why this is here, but I think you just need to play with it and realize how often this is just saving you from getting owned. It's just anti-brick protection. If you need a block card, pick a block card. If you need a draw card, pick a draw card. If you need a power, pick the power. You know, like it just lets you kind of hand select what's good for your fight. Okay, Distinguished Cape. Upon pickup, lose 9 max. Add 3 apparitions to your deck. S tier. I mean, apparitions were already busted as hell in the first game, and for people unaware, you paid half your max life total to get apps in the first game. You pay 9 HP in this game. That's not okay. Apparitions say intangible on them, takes no damage. If you're trying to get set up at all, this is just getting you set up. There's basically no downside to this. Like 9 max is just nothing. It's just letting you set up every single fight for free and get through your deck cycle guaranteed. Even if you brick, you have enough max HP to survive, which was not true with apps in the first game, so you really had to think about it. Now, even if you brick, you still have enough max HP to just tank the hit, and then you're drawing into your apps. There's also events that remove intangible from this. You can insert the clip here of me playing Apparition over and over and over again to win a fight. You can literally loop intangible an infinite number of times sometimes. So yeah, disgusting. Just really good. Fiddle. At the start of each turn, draw 2 additional cards. You may not draw cards during your turn. If this is good, you're going to know it. For the most part, this is like Necrobinder only, and Necrobinder that's just playing value pile and not drawing any cards. So if you've bricked entirely, this is basically like Snecko without the downside of having randomized energy. If you have no draw cards in your deck, this is solving the exact problem that you need it to solve. Otherwise, super weird. It shuts down like every infinite ever, obviously. Is basically just saying that you are, again, playing value pile. Necrobinder is probably the only one that really picks this very often. So I think this probably just goes into C. Again, can be super broken. Like, can be incredibly broken. You will know it when it happens. Defect might like this as well. It's like, if you're just bricking every single draw thing, it's going to save you. But if you've bricked everything that says draw on it, maybe you're just dead already before you got here. That's it. Okay. Jeweled Mask. At the start of combat, put a random power from your draw pile into your hand. It's free to play. So if you have 1 power that you really want to play, this is super good. If you only have like 2 and both are really good, super good. This is getting you set up faster. If you have a lot of powers and not all of them are equally as good as the others, you may want to think twice about this, but for the most part, I think powers are the cards you care most about drawing early in a fight, and it just gets you set up. It cheats the energy, pulls a thing out of your draw pile that you just no longer have to draw. Seems really solid. We'll put this in like top of B, probably, maybe average, middle of B for now. It's just solid. It can be really good, sometimes doing nothing. Again, a lot of these are weighted based on opportunity cost. You're comparing it to something like the Tiara or the Cleaver, or getting 3 apps in your deck, or drawing 3 every time you play cards. Like, some things are just doing a lot more than this.
but it's consistently good probably. And if your deck is relying on certain powers to help you get set up, can really, really help. Okay, Lord's Parasol. When you encounter the merchant, immediately obtain everything he sells. D tier. I don't know why I want this, dude. Like, I'm just going to add a bunch of random attacks and garbage into my deck. I just don't understand. Like, maybe it's fun, but for the most part, like, do I really want all the crap in the cards? Like, my deck is probably pretty small most of the time in this game. It seems really, really bad. Also, it's conditional on even having a shop to go to. So there's like another thing. There's just too many things. Okay, music box. Create an ethereal copy of the first attack you play each turn. For the most part, I don't really know why I'm trying to clone attacks at this stage in the game. I'm probably doing better things. I don't know how many decks rely on attacks to really create an engine. Like, there's just not that many. Yeah, I guess if you have Claw, it's fun, but you know what? Like, you're probably not picking Claw if you're trying to win every run. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. It's just not very good. I think this is like C. It's not often like exclusively negative, but I guess if you'll know that it's broken, it's broken. It's just the ceiling's not even that high. It's just not great. Okay, Preserved Fog. Upon pickup, remove 5 cards from your deck. Add Folly to your deck, which is an unplayable innate eternal curse. This is essentially a Writhe from Spire 1 that you cannot remove, but you have 5 removes. S tier. What the hell were they cooking, man? It's 4 removes. It's just 4 removes for a Writhe. That's all this is. That's gross. Like, especially at this stage of the game when you're just dodging all of Act 3, you don't care about a Writhe in the boss fight because they're just long fights. You don't need to win the boss on turn 1. Like, you often can just pick this for free and you just remove all the crap out of your deck. You draw 1 bad card on turn 1, pretend it was one of the cards you would have like drawn into. It's like a strike or something. And like, yeah, crazy. I don't know. Like, again, there's just too many things in this game that just go infinite on the spot. This is a huge enabler for that. Not much more to say. Okay. Sarah Talon. Upon pickup, add 2 random curses and 3 wishes in your deck. The wishes are 0 energy, put a card from your draw pile into your hand, exhaust. They're essentially Seek minus from the first game on defect. But 2 curses, if you cannot remove them, is probably pretty bad. I think oftentimes I just don't want this. I would just rather not add a random chance to like brick super hard. Adding variance to your deck in this game is just not great. Like, the event that clones your deck is a pretty similar idea to this. But if you have, let's say, just for science reasons, a 15 card deck, and you have an Echo form that you really want to play, the absolute worst case scenario is drawing Echo form on turn 3 and playing it on turn 3. That's the worst. If you clone your whole deck or you start adding a bunch of cards that you can like add curses or brick you and always get put on the bottom of your deck, it can increase the worst case scenario to like turn 4 or more. So it's pretty awkward, I think, to do this, because why you're adding wishes is to seek out certain cards, but you're also increasing this variance if you can't remove these curses to just randomly brick on turn 1 and then get owned. With super small decks, I often find I don't want this, and just playing a draw card will just get me to my stuff enough. So I think this is like C tier. It's not like actively negative for the most part, and you can remove the curses, but I don't see why I really want this most of the time. If like huge decks become a thing and I'm just trying to find my Echo form in a pile of 40 cards, that's something completely different, but this is just not that. It's not doing that. Okay, Whispering Earring. Gain energy at the start of each turn. Vakuu plays your first turn for you. This is a really funny relic. Vakuu will play left to right and can play up to 13 cards. So if you can somehow play randomly 13 cards, more than that, I think you get control of your turn after that. But you'll get energy for the rest of the fight at the downside of having a turn 1 that's like out of your control. I actually think this is pretty good. I think it's like, sometimes you'll know, if you have to play specific certain combos, that this is not going to be it. But if you're just trying to like get your powers out like immediately and need energy to do it, this can do it for you. Only being owned on the first turn is not so bad. And like the worst case scenario for this is not super like awful most of the time. Especially again, when the idea is really that you're just dodging Act 3, not fighting elites that will punish you on turn 1 or turn 2 or whatever, and you're just going to fight the bosses. This is boss output for like very little downside. I think it's just B tier. It's not something you click all the time, but it's definitely not as bad as some of these other things. I think like maybe if you look at this, you're probably just like confused and thinking it's really bad, but please play with it. Just try it. I think you'll understand it's like a bit better than what you think it is. Okay, Darv. I believe these are Act 2 as well. These are all just relics from Spire 1. If you're familiar with that game, these are going to be pretty similar. The evaluations really haven't changed a ton, but we'll get to it. Okay, Astrolabe. Upon pickup, transform 3 cards, then upgrade them. Again, sort of just removes, basically. And getting upgraded cards is really sick, especially in the beginning of Act 2. But in general, I think I like this. Like, getting removes usually, or getting upgraded cards is just going to be pretty good. I think I'm going to throw it into, like, A tier here. Both acts it's going to be solid, but it's definitely going to be better in Act 2 than it is in Act 3. Either way, I'm not unhappy to see this. You can just get rid of some basics, and oftentimes one of those cards will say exhaust on them, and you're happy. Also can make some really good cards, and you're just going to be broken. Upgraded cards are just good. Okay, Black Star. Elites drop an additional relic when defeated. I think this is pretty similar to Spire 1 in terms of being just not that good. It does nothing immediately. If you get this Act 3, it's really bad. If you get this Act 2, you probably want something else to be letting you farm elites in the first place. So you need to be really broken in either way for this to like do anything. This often converts like 2 or 3 extra relics, basically. And again, in Act 3, I'm usually not even fighting elites. So 2 or 3 extra relics, depending on where you get it, and it doesn't really matter. Kind of weird. I think this is just going into C. It's not negative, but it's not really doing anything either. I think the max HP, you can just pretend you just got all the fruit relics and for free. Like, it's just fine. Okay, Calling Bell. Upon pickup, obtain a unique curse and 3 relics. I believe this works the same way as Inspire 1, where you get a common, uncommon, and rare relic. I don't really like getting an extra curse in this game. In decks that can take this and not have a curse, or like impact them super poorly, like sure. I just feel like in most runs, the curse is actually pretty bad. The earlier you get this, like if you get this from Neow, it'd be very good. But getting it from Act 2 or 3, it just doesn't feel all that great. I think this is just C tier. Can be actively negative, can be something you just definitely don't want to click because the curse is like going to kill the run. If you really need a lot of help, sure, can click it. But yeah, most characters, it feels like I want to have a small deck and not have the curse in it. Okay, Dusty Tome. Upon pickup, obtain an ancient card. This apparently gives you upgraded version of all of these. I think these are very polarizing and different than Spire 1, even if the cards are the same. So Cloud, I think Corruption is just much worse in the first game and not worth giving up your boss relic. Corruption in this game is not as good. I think you're missing like Feel No Pain being a core part of your engine. You're missing like Dark Embrace because it's a rare more often. You really usually have smaller decks that you're relying on some skill to generate energy to go infinite. Basically every Cloud run, at least for me so far, is infinite with some sort of skill as energy generation. So if that's the case, Corruption is just not something I even want to play. It feels like I don't need to thin out my deck with Corruption in the same way that Clad really like to do in Inspire 1 and get down to like a blood for blood pommel loop and just pay life and not worry about energy so much. I know that Corruption can still be broken for sure. It can be really strong, but I think it's just not very good in general. Okay. Wraith Form. Gain 3 intangible at the start of your turn, lose 1 dex. This is basically 3 apparitions stapled together with downside. Similar to Spire 1, I think this is just a crazy, crazy card. Fights on Silence now are often pretty short, and there's no beat of death to really punish you for losing dex. Most of the time, if you have 3 turns to set up for free without taking damage, you're probably just going to be infinite and win immediately. If you don't have a deck that wins immediately and needs to sit around in the fight and block with decks, say you're doing like something with poison as your main damage source, or you're doing something with like thorns from the rare card that gives you thorns, like you'll know that this is not pickable. But for any deck that can go really fast, this is just insanely, insanely strong. Bias Cognition, gain 5 focus at the start of your turn, lose 1 focus. I think this is decidedly worse than Spire 1 with the removal of Artifact and the fact that you're trading your boss relic for it. So it doesn't feel nearly as good. I think I put this in B or C on my tier list, just out of the context of having to give up other Neows, or sorry, other Ancients. But overall, I think Bias just has a way lower ceiling than it did before. It's kind of front load block, but like Chill isn't even innate anymore, so you can't always rely on having a lot of Frost to set this up. And Defect oftentimes doesn't need this output and can just play other temp focus that doesn't just make you go into the negative throughout the fight. feels a lot worse to me. I picked this once and it just did not feel very good. Okay, Regent gets the Sealed Throne. Innate, whenever you play a card, gain stars. This will eat all your stars at the beginning of combat, but quickly refund them. So if you don't have any way to cheat star costs, this can, one, be like an insane infinite enabler by letting you just play energy from like alignment or something. If you don't have Void Form and you just need to pay expensive star costs, is an insane star generation card. You will know when this is really strong. If your deck is just struggling to make stars, this is fixing it basically immediately. Pretty solid card, but oftentimes it doesn't feel super necessary to me, and the runs where it is, you will know. Forbidding Grimoire. At the end of combat, you may remove a card from your deck. Eternal. So this does nothing in the fight when you play it, but obviously at the end, you just get a free remove. Crazy. That's like busted S tier. Removes in this game, again, so plentiful. It's so easy to pay 1 energy to deploy a power that just like thins your deck. If you get this inside of Act 2, disgusting. Even inside of Act 3, like I can't imagine a world where this is not just disgusting and broken. Okay, well, yeah, Infinite Move's good. What a hot take, I guess. Okay, let's go ahead and continue here. Ectoplasm, you can no longer gain gold, gain energy at the start of each turn. I think this is still Act 2 exclusive, I'm pretty sure, just as it was in Spire 1. I kind of like having removes in this game. I know I like talk about how money feels worse because the relics are more expensive, but removes are the same price, and I really don't like not being able to remove when a lot of my runs feel like if I just remove all the cards, I will win. So I think this is just going into C. I don't know if this is like worse or better compared to the other thing that like costs gold for energy. It feels really weird. I guess like you don't have thieves in this game that are like stealing money from you inside of Act 2 in the same way that you did that could like completely own you, and there's less shops because Act 4 does not have a shop in it, so it's definitely stronger than it is in Spire 1. And oftentimes if you have output increase like this, you probably just win anyways, and you can get your removes in other situations, but it just feels like I don't need it, and the other ancient bonuses feel so strong that I have really almost no reason to pick this, it seems. Okay, Empty Cage. Upon pickup, remove 2 cards from your deck. Well, if you compare this to getting the thing that lets you cook, it doesn't feel so great. But again, oftentimes I feel like removing cards in this game is just really strong. You're often just building decks that get really broken with removes. I think I'm just going to throw this into B tier. Not crazy. There's things that do this better. There's a lot of other options that remove cards, but I will never say that removes are bad in this game. So I guess we can just move on. It's pretty simple to evaluate. It doesn't do anything special. Okay, Pandora's Box. Transform all strikes into defends. If you have any amount of basics, like more than 4 or 5, I think at the beginning of Act 2, this is just easy S tier. Like, I think we just throw this up here. If you played the first game, you know this is like in contention for one of the best relics in the game. Your base cards are really bad. Please get rid of them. This gets rid of all of them and gives you a lot of direction to build a deck around. If you see this in Act 3, you probably have a lot more moves and it's a lot worse, but the fact that it's probably the best relic in the entire game in Act 2 still is just disgusting. I cannot put this below S. There's just no way. Even though in Act 3, it's just not going to be as good. Okay, Philostone. Gain energy at the start of each turn. All enemies start combat with 1 strength. I think this is pretty similar evaluation to Spire 1 as well. There's not the heart that multi-hits you, but like the Act 3 bosses even do it. Like there's so many things that make this just so bad. I'm just gonna throw this in C, probably below Ecto to be honest. If you're in a position where the extra energy is what you want, it's probably because you're trying to set up powers. And if you're trying to set up powers, then you really don't want the enemies to be hitting you for more damage. You'd rather just not play a block card and not make your brick chances worse. And yeah, Act 3 has the gunner combat that really punishes you for having this. There's still so many things, like Queen will punish you, the 3-headed dog will punish you, like it's really, really gross. Following Choker Act 3. Okay, I guess we can go ahead and talk about Choker as well then. Velvet Choker says, gain energy at the start of each turn. You cannot play more than 6 cards per turn. Most of the time, especially in Act 3, this is extremely limiting. The fact that you can only get an Act 3 makes it a lot worse because you can't build a deck around it, and most decks in this game want to be playing a billion cards anyways. I think this is just easy C tier. In the first game, there's a much bigger use for it just because you could see it at the beginning of Act 2 or swap into it at Neow and play the entire run knowing that this is going to be downside, and it really sucked in Act 3 almost always regardless. Okay, end of story. Sozu, gain energy at the start of each turn. You can no longer obtain potions. Potions are really good. If you're a new player, you might not understand why that is, but just pretend for a second that you have bricked a combat that's hitting you for 30 damage, and there's nothing in your hand that can save you no matter if you have energy or not. I can play a draw pot and now draw into something that blocks for 30, or basically make that brick way less impactful. Potions are one of the main ways you're going to be able to mitigate low rolls in this game. You will brick. It is just a card game. It's a fact of life that you will just low roll at some point and get owned. The reason why we try to build small decks is to eliminate the chance of getting low rolls, and they still happen. So please do not take this and then expect it to be free energy. If you're insanely broken and have really good consistent turn 1 and turn 2, maybe like on silent, and have basically like removed a lot of cards and have like free draw or whatever, you can take this and it's probably no downside. But for most people and most characters and most runs, this is like going to kill you. If you never need to potion, you're probably already in a good spot, and you could have probably clicked anything else on the screen and not risked this. This is really, again, another relic that at the beginning of Act 2 only needs to be clicked if you're dying without the extra energy. If you're dying in literally 2 to 3 floors, that just doesn't happen a lot in this game. So potions are just an incredibly valuable resource. It's one of the most like powerful things you can have, and one of the best skills a good player has, and best tools to actually win runs that are very difficult. If you have like a focus potion on defect and see no focus for the entire run, that's a way to cheese an endgame boss. You can hold a Gambler's Brew or a Swift Potion to get you out of really bad spots, or set up in a fight that's really difficult to set up in, or that you need to be very fast in. It just makes all the fights that can actually kill you not actually kill you. And that's the thing. Again, this game is skewed. Not all fights do kill you. Some just soften you up, or some are not scary at all, and some really can kill you from full. So this is really hurting in that case. I think this is just like bottom of C tier. Really, really hard to pick this. Okay, Sneko Eye, at the start of your turn, draw 2 additional cards. Start each combat confused. This is basically just going to randomize the cost of your cards. If you have a deck that plays a bunch of really expensive stuff, it can be good. It's also just good if you're just trying to play like 1 core card a turn, or if you're trying to get a power that's really important, like if you're trying to play your demon form, you're trying to play your void form. Notably, if you have void form, that's pretty cool, but I think for the most part, Sneko's a lot worse than in the first game. Clad doesn't really need this in the same way that he needed it in the first game, because draw is everywhere. Every character sort of just has a lot of draw and has a lot of infinites, and this kills infinites. So I don't think I ever really want this. It's gonna be better than like Ecto probably, and like Black Star maybe. It's pretty bad. It's really sad. This was like a lot of people's favorite relic in Spire 1, but yeah, it's just not that good. Okay, the best for last, literally a mid. Runic Pyramid. At the end of your turn, you no longer discard your hand. The King of Relics is back. This is the best relic in the game, the entire game. In Spire 1, I don't think that's any different here. Being able to play every single combo card together with its other card that you want. Just so stupid, man. So insanely stupid. There's even less fights that add wounds to your deck that like stay in your hand. There's just no fights that actually clog this thing. Like burns get out of your hand, dazes get it out of your hand. It's so stupid. If you've never played with this, well, I don't know. Just pick it. You'll win the run. Like, you can just do so many stupid things, and so many cards get so much better when you can play them in the ideal circumstance. Like, just a Magic Panic button with Runic Pyramid, like, that gets so much better. Impervious with this. Fiendfire, Second Wind, Stoke, like, oh my god. It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know how much I need to explain this. Zero cost stuff gets better. Energy generation gets better because you can always spend it. It just makes everything better. Crazy, 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 crazy relic. Like, just slam this on site. There's no reason not to. Okay. That's the end of Act 3. And I think that is the end of it all. This game, there's a pretty big skew on what's like really broken or not. I think like in general, they made less things negative and have downsides in this game. I'm not sure I like that. I think I like when stuff is like pickable but with downside and you really have to think. Stuff that's just generically broken is not exactly my favorite thing. I would like more decisions to be made that actually felt like they mattered. It feels like you sort of just slam the good stuff more often than Inspire 1. I think they did design the game in a way that probably for new players that feels better. I like having downsides. I think it's good game design, but I can understand that it's not as much dopamine for people to click like an ectoplasm. Like I agree that ectoplasm and choker are just low dopamine relics and I don't want to click them, you know? And that was a lot of relics inside of Spire 1. In this game, there's a lot of things that are just like, holy crap. I see that, I just slam it, I'm really happy. So I think the dopamine has increased, but the decisions feel like they matter less. This one, I honestly think that like this tier list is like the most fun to make because these are just really interesting to talk about. They always come next to other things, so you're kind of comparing them against each other and there's a lot to think about. Very cool.